So you say, I don't know who he's going to shoot in that scene. Neither did we. I mean, think about it. I mean, in a way, think about it. It's like this dude should have it in for Fisk. Fisk ruined his life. Him and Matt have a pretty complicated past, but yet he still does seem to have some much more humanity than a traditional villain in him. He probably recognizes that Matt Murdock is not a terrible person.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. BD here for Daredevil Director Debrief of my favorite episode today. This is episode 8. I love this episode. I've been talking about it for months now. Finally, we get to talk about it with the people who made it. Joining us for the first time on a spoiler-filled breakdown are none other than the geniuses behind the camera, also of Loki Season 2 and Moon Knight, the first episode of Daredevil Born Again, as well as these last 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. And they're hard at work on Season 2, so we got to get back to get them back to set. So we got to jump in by talking about Bullseye's return, Matt taking a bullet, the truth of Foggy's hit being revealed, all this stuff, this craziness of episode 8. I'm very excited. Aaron, Moorhead, Justin, Benson, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
What's up, man? Hello.
What's up is this episode's phenomenal. Did you know episode 8 was going to be the episode that everyone responded to? I can't be alone in that.
Well, it's coming out tonight as we're recording it, so We're not quite sure, but we also will tell you without a doubt when we got the outline and the script, we're like, oh, there it is. that's the one.
It's so good.
I think one of the big things about it is Justin and I are like weirdly protective over the character of Poindexter, Bullseye. We love it a lot, and we every single scene he's in, we request major tweaks because we just want to get it just so. We also just love Wilson, the guy who plays him. But like that whole opening sequence used to be something a little bit different, and we were just like, we've got to get it into Bullseye's psyche because of what's coming, what's going to end the episode, and so the whole thing with the blue lighting, the blue flowers, all of that was like something that we're just like laser focused on because of our weird love for Bullseye.
Yeah, the legacy of the character from the Netflix show, some of the things that we really attached to about him were that, yes, he is a vicious fighter who does these really cool, the way he can turn anything into a weapon and have it ricochet off 3 things. And it's always so clever. But then at the same time, there's this obviously deep sadness to him. And there's enough circumstances around him, especially in the original Netflix show, to make you really empathize with him. And this is a guy who, until Fisk entered his life, he held it together. Like he had a troubled childhood. Yes, he struggled with his mental health, all those things. But without Fisk in his life, he probably just, would have been that guy leaving his apartment in the morning, straighten up the frame, keep things in order, and he'll be okay. And he's so well-intentioned. And there was something about that season 3 plot where he gets, I don't know, he kind of becomes the Job of the show. Like, it's a horrible thing after horrible thing happens to him that turns him into this monster. And for us, there was something about making sure that we honor that transformation and that you can still see the reasons why you should empathize with him and why he's tragic in this show. And that was something we're really protective over, while also allowing him to change. And allowing the character to let his monster out a little more. And Aaron, there's something we really stumbled into literally through our gaffer.
Yeah,
were ways of using expressionistic lighting to go subjective with Poindexter in moments. And
we were sorry if you have a bunch of questions. If you want us to ramble, because we're happy to.
Wait, no, listen. I love hearing this stuff. If you guys have to go, I do have a bunch of questions, but I love hearing about how you guys make this stuff.
Here we are shooting. The scene near the beginning. It's, I think, the second scene where he's being led down the hallway, and it's this really, really long hallway in a former prison in New York, and our gaffer had swapped out every single lighting fixture to be controllable by a dimmer board, and we arrive, and he's our friend Charlie Grubbs. He's just amazing, and him and our DP Hillary. They said, hey guys, check this out. And they just pressed the button and it turned to party mode. And it turned this like really somber place into like a dance hall. And it was super fun. The crew starts dancing, and, Justin pulls out and plays Sandstorm on his phone, and we're just messing around. And then and then when it ends, we kind of think about it. We're like, there's something here. There's something in this. And so we just did one take where at the very end, everything faded to blue, which is Bullseye's color, because we have white for Fisk, red for Daredevil, specifically flashing red for Daredevil, and Fisk's light, it comes from below, and Bullseye's blue light comes from on top. And that has nothing to do with the American flag, by the way. That's just how the characters have always been. And and we just did one take with it, and everyone was so enamored with it that we decided to run with it. But it was something we discovered right there on the day that has come to define the visual language of that character.
I love that, because when we talked back at the junket, we were talking about how you did Daredevil sort of sensory stuff, and then I didn't see the Bullseye stuff yet at that time, and I saw the blue take over, and I was like, oh my god, these guys are crushing it with how they're representing these characters and their perspectives. I also I remember in the Daredevil movie, like, I saw Colin Farrell's Bullseye use a walnut on a tray table to hit that old lady, and then you guys used a paper clip on a fly in the first episode, and then this one he uses a tooth. Like, we keep in live action finding these insane ways for Bullseye to hit people. I want to talk about the tooth of it all. Did you see it as Matt did that intentionally to loosen his tooth so he could use it to escape because he needed some series of events to happen? And B, just how'd you come up with this escape by spitting out his own tooth at the security guard?
So in answer to the first one, in terms of was it Matt's plan, I think you're supposed to wonder about this. And we have an idea, but we're not going to tell you. But okay. There's a version where Matt made a mistake. Either he just hit him out of anger, or I don't think the line is still in there, but there's a version also where he says, like, that injury will buy you a little bit of time outside of Gen Pop while I investigate what you're talking about. But I think we got rid of that bit. And so it was more like he just hits him out of anger. But then you start realizing maybe there's some kind of a plan behind the whole thing. And so this, and the idea that, like, getting Bullseye to escape can kind of help him in all of this, in the way that Matt is so good at these lengthy schemes, I guess is the way to say it, and plans. Both are possible, and it just kind of, by the time you end the season, you might have a decision on which one that is, because he's the devil in Daredevil comes from him, a guy who does things out of anger. It's a very real thing. But he is also, he's a thinker. So
it's good stuff. That's good stuff. And this episode, of course, culminates with the four major characters of the season, I'd say being Matt, Heather, Vanessa, and Wilson all in one place. So getting them all on set together for the first time, what was that day like on set? How do you find the way to balance everybody's time? And is their energy together just automatically instant, like, we're here?
Well, it wasn't one day on set. It was, how long was that dance scene?
That was 5 days, yeah.
So it was 5 days in that...
200 costumed hot extras. Sorry, like physically temperature hot extras.
That was... Yes, they do have amazing energy together. Luckily, though, what's interesting is we got to see it when we were rehearsing with the dance choreographer. That was really when we got to see the chemistry of the four of them together and their different personalities together as performers. And that was really interesting. And also, it's like one of those times where like Aaron and I don't know anything about ballroom dancing. I mean, like Aaron obviously knows a lot of, like, tango,
swing,
esoteric, like
body juggling.
Naturally,
right? Like Baltic, like
Cossack dancing.
Exactly. Like he knows that stuff. Obviously, you can tell by looking at him. But we don't know enough about dancing to not have a choreographer. So those days where you kind of hand it over to your dance choreographer with the actors, and it was so interesting because it was like, this is probably not shocking. I think Vincent was the one who took to it like fish to water. Like he's obviously done a lot of dancing, and he's a trained actor in so many ways throughout his whole life. One of our greatest living American actors.
You get to see, like, Wilson Fisk do finger guns, and he can find a way to do that in character.
That was great. I love that they worked that into a trailer too. They just
Yeah,
they put the and this also that moment is when Matt discovers that Vanessa is responsible for Foggy's death. He's kind of putting everything together, and this is the moment where he really puts it together. Talk to me about how you landed that reveal so perfectly the way you did, because I love it. I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh, he's getting together. We got the insights from Josie's, we got the dance floor whispers, and now he knows. Talk about how you seeded all that together so well in that final moment.
Full credit to Dario, really.
Full credit to Dario, but also the other thing too, what's kind of interesting about getting that reveal right is that yes, full credit to Dario, full credit to Ayala and Charlie in that scene,
so
for
good.
sure. It's really them. But the other thing I will say is Aaron and I are kind of allergic to Steadicam. We just don't like using Steadicam. It looks like it's just, for us, it's like, oh, no matter what you do with it, it just kind of always feels. It's like, yep, we're in a movie, but
right in the middle, two in the middle,
kind of like a choice. Like oftentimes for us, it just feels kind of choiceless. But you know, if you're in a dance scene with four partners going back and forth and all these things, it's like I mean, that was the tool for the job. And I will say, also the MVP here is our Steadicam operator who landed that every single time perfectly in a moment that is so complicated, and you want to get it right when they get it right. You don't have to chase that magic take with everyone dancing around you all the time. It was like, no, he killed it every single time, and it was a great. I think that was when we relearned the power of a Steadicam.
And it was edited so well too, the way like you ramp up the pacing of the whole thing, which ramps up the tension. I thought these final moments of episode 8 are incredible. I had no idea who Dex was gonna shoot when he's up there.
Right.
I was sat there like, who is his target? The only one I kind of thought probably not her was Heather, because I was like, why would he go after Heather? But I was like, he go after Vanessa, he go after Wilson, he go after Matt. Who's he gonna shoot? Can you just like? I don't even know how to ask about this, because like I just feel like that is something that the script is gonna kind of bake in, because there's so much tension.
Well, I think it's impossible to answer any question about Poindexter / Bullseye without talking about the actor who plays him, Wilson Bethel.
Oh, Wilson's amazing
as a person and a performer. We were just fans of his portrayal of this character until we were in prep on Born Again. Didn't know him, never met him. And, you know, he's one of those people where it's like, oh, he's, you know, there's a lot of headshots that look like him. I don't mean that in a bad way. He's an attractive guy. But there's a lot of actors. I think people grow up and you're that person. They're like, you should become an actor. And you get your headshot.
And he was almost Captain America.
Right? Yeah. And obviously we knew he was a great performer from what he did on Poindexter. Then you meet the guy and hang out with him. And I mean this as full on compliment. And he's a friend. He literally texted us as we were on this podcast. Love the guy. He's become a friend.
Get him on FaceTime. Tell him we said hi.
I will. I will say this because I think it's the highest compliment Aaron and I can give anyone. That dude is weird as fuck. Like that guy's like, he's not what you think. Like he's not that dude in the headshot. He's a heart of an artist. He's like he's like a true artist.
Absolutely.
He's looking for like weird stuff and things. And when you get feedback from him on Poindexter / Bullseye, like, you know that it's going to be some of the best feedback you've ever received and most compelling feedback and best ideas you've ever received from an actor about their character.
Yeah.
And so much of it is informed by him. So you say, I don't know who he's going to shoot in that scene. Neither did we. I mean, think about it. I mean, in a way, think about it. It's like, this dude should have it in for Fisk. Fisk ruined his life. Him and Matt have a pretty complicated past, but yet he still does seem to have some much more humanity than a traditional villain in him. He probably recognizes that Matt Murdock is not a terrible person. Ayala, I mean, what she did was pretty gangster to him. but you can understand also how he would still ultimately lay it on Fisk, but yet also Fisk always seemed to have almost a paternal control over him, to get a kid that didn't like really have a father and had didn't really have his closest thing to a parent was probably his therapist, the one from the tapes in the Netflix season. So you get into this really complicated area, and I think that's why it registered with us to have that cut in 9 where we go from his eye to a deer, like just a fawn looking sad. It was like there was something in the spirit of him there in it. And another funny thing I'll say about Wilson Bethel that we haven't talked about in a long time. Remember we first met him and we were connecting over liking the same hip hop music, and we were bringing up hip hop music from our childhoods that we were really into. And I was like, oh, were you into Dr. Octagon? Dr. Octagon's most famous song is a song called Blue Flowers. And then cut to 6 weeks later, the first shot of Wilson Bethel in prison is us on a blue rose, spinning it and pulling back, and then pulling back into Poindexter / Bullseye. And it's not because we were making a reference to Blue Flowers by Dr. Octagon, aka Cool Keith. It was because we had that conversation, and what it made us think of is like, well, blue rose doesn't really exist unless you dye it. And here we are, subjective in this guy's point of view, and we're using this blue lights and this blue theme. And if you get a rose just right with the contrast, it kind of looks like a bullseye. And it was like this whole, and it was like, wouldn't a prison yard have like a garden outside? And we looked, I was like, they do. Sometimes they do. There's these programs where people garden. And it just all kind of went from there, and just started with us weird guys talking to Weird Wilson about Blue Flowers by Dr. Octagon.
You guys are good at this. You guys are pretty good at this artistic stuff. I'll tell you what. All right, I got to wrap up the episode 8 chat with you. So I want to end on that final shot there with Heather, like perched over Matt's body after he took the bullet, which I love how that's a callback to the conversation immediately with Dex and Matt. Even a good guy, I forget what the exact line was about saving your enemies. He does that by the end of the episode. I thought that was brilliant. But the way you shot that ending, where it kind of goes through the floor and becomes like a mirror, if I'm remembering, because I saw it a couple months ago, but like it stood out to me. How did you craft this sequence? It looks like a comic book frame brought to life. If you have a hero like Daredevil going down, this is what you'd see on the page.
Yeah. So our original concept for the very end, for the very last shot, what we wanted to do was have the camera pull out from Matt and Heather and then slowly tilt up into the sky, and up on the ceiling there would be, some kind of religious iconography on the cupola above the dance. And it would kind of, give this impression of Matt's soul leaving his body, but also this idea of him having committed this act of defending his worst enemy now gives him the grace that he felt like he lost in episode 1. And kind of saying like he is Daredevil and he's allowed to be. He's not lost the privilege anymore. And logistics prevented that because if you tilt it up, you'd see a whole bunch of movie lights. But we realized, we're like, well, there's an even better idea here. By using this language that we've established with the blue lights, we can do that same idea with this flashing red lights, which we also had in episode 1. There's flashing red light on Matt's face, and then we can have this image that, as you say, is kind of like this upside down feeling mirror image where he's on the floor and the blood that's pushing towards the camera starts to, it kind of reminds you of like the wages of this thing that he's done. And it felt even more real to us to bring Heather into it as well, because for her, that was also the breaking point, as you'll see in episode 9, is that was where she realized like this person is never going to be healthy enough for she's not into this the vigilante heroics, whether or not she knows he's Daredevil. Right. And so bringing Heather into that was really important as well. There's a lot more to say, but I'll also say this is the our producer Sana gave us wrap gifts at the end of season 1 and season 2, and our wrap gift for season 1 was that image, because that was our favorite image.
That's
of
awesome.
him on the floor being held by Heather as the blood pours towards him in the red light.
And you kept it a secret the whole time. The wrap gift never even made it on Twitter. That's a pretty impressive feat in itself. Yeah. Oh, wow. Guys, that's awesome. What's that?
I was going to say, I catch myself all the time right before I put a wrap gift on Twitter. That would be Instagram. Sorry, that's going to break my NDA.
Hey, Props to the teams that keep it under wraps. All right, guys. Well, everybody watching at home, make sure you're subscribed because next week we're back for the finale of Daredevil Born Again. There's only one episode left. Aaron, Justin, and myself are going to take one more deep dive to wrap up Daredevil Director Debrief. Guys, thank you so much for hanging and talking about episode 8.
Thank you.
Thank you.